I'm going to show you how you can use Dynamics GP to quickly process dropship orders. Now you can do this for one at a time, or you can do it in a group. Let's take a look at it. A typical dropship scenario is a customer of yours calls you up and places an order. You create a sales order for that customer, and then you turn around and create a purchase order to one of your suppliers to fulfill that order. And then the supplier will send the products directly to your customer. And then you want to make sure that you do all the accounting associated with that, which is billing your customer, also recognizing the purchase and paying your supplier. So let's take a look at that. So to place an order, I'm going to go to the sales area page here, and I'm going to enter in a sales order. So let's do that right now. I'm going to look up a customer here, place that order in a batch, then look up my item. I'm going to be selling some hotel key cards. So take a look at that. Here's my item here, and I'll order 30. Now I'm going to back order these, so put that there, and I'm also going to drop ship, so I'm going to hit the drop ship mark right there. Now I've got my order entered, and now I want to go ahead and do the purchasing on this. From the sales order screen, I can go up to actions here and hit purchase. It's going to open a dialog box where I can select the vendor, I can select the item. You can see, because I have the setup already in my system to match the item, which in this case is the hotel key card, to a specific vendor, it's going to fill out the screen for me. Now if I wanted to go and change a different vendor, I could do that. Go here and select a different vendor. I can also look at the pricing I've gotten from this vendor. If I want to change the price for the PO, I can do that. If I'm happy with the settings though, I can just hit generate. And what that's going to do is generate a PO for me. Let's take a look at the register here. And this is going to show that indeed a PO was created. It's in my Dynamics GP system. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go over to my purchasing area page here and take a look at purchase orders. Click on purchase order entry and scroll back to the last one created, which is this one we just created here. And you can see that I've got a little icon here. This indicates that it's connected to a particular sales order, the one we just created. I can highlight the line, click on the icon here, and you can see the sales order that this PO is tied to. So now what I want to do is I want to send this PO to my vendor. I can just hit the email icon here. It's going to go through and send the email to that vendor, and we'll take a look at it. We can see that that email has been received by the vendor, so let's take a look at it. Here's the email here. You can change this text, but let's just open up the PO. And this PO here is generated by Word actually, and you can see that's a decent looking PO. I can change this to match my requirements, but here is the basic PO. I've got the line item ordering. I also have, because it's a direct ship, I'm telling the vendor to ship it to my customer right here. You can see that information right there. So now let's go back to the purchase order. Let's assume that the supplier has gotten that order and they have indeed shipped the item to my customer. I'm going to look up that PO again, and right from this screen I can receive, or I can invoice that PO. So I'm going to invoice that PO here. And when I do this, it's going to clear the PO and it's going to create the invoice in accounts payable. Here's the information from the original PO. I can just invoice that here. It's going to create an invoice document. I'm going to put in the invoice number, and then I'm going to post that. Once that's posted, now it makes the sales order available to invoice. So let's go back to sales order and do that. I'm going to look up my sales order here, and we can see that if I open up the detail here, that this quantity has been fulfilled by receiving that PO, or invoicing the PO. So now let's go ahead and invoice my customer. To do that, I'm going to transfer this order into an invoice. You can go right up here and do that. Transfer the order to an invoice. And what it's going to do is take all the information on the order that's ready to be invoiced and create an invoice document. We we can take a look at the log here. It says that a document has been successfully transferred to an invoice. So let's take a look at that invoice. It's right here on the screen. Now, if I wanted to, I can also email that to my customer. So let's do that. Here's the invoice to my customer. Let's take a look at that. You can see that these are set up as attachments, PDF attachments, and here's the standard invoice to my customer. So now I'm done. Let's go back to the invoice and post that. So here's my invoice. I've already sent the customer the invoice, so I can now go ahead and post that. And this is in a batch. I'm just going to post the batch here. Let's go right to the batch, close that window, and you can see I've got one document in this batch. I'm going to go ahead and post it. Now when I post it, that's going to relieve the sales order and the sales invoice. It's going to go into history. It's going to create accounts receivable transaction in my system, and that sale is now complete. So what we did is we created a sales order originally, and then we created a purchase order off the sales order. We invoiced the purchase order, and then we turned the order into an invoice. We transferred it. We sent that copy of the invoice via email to our customer and then posted that invoice. That's the entire process. So Dynamics GP does provide a quick process for processing drop shipments, taking orders, turning those around to your vendors, and having the vendor ship those items to your customer.